Hey, welcome everybody. It's another episode of Dr. Homebrew, the only show worth listening to be honest with you, on this whole network. But really, it's also the only other show where you can be on. If you're a home brewer and you want to be on the radio or the podcast, radio, internet broadcast thing, all you got to do is pay in beer. We are definitely a pay-to-play species of show. So if you want to be on, like any of our guests, you send an email to brian@thebrewingnetwork.com, and he will do his Brian Cooper things. And
usually involves sending long emails and
thorough email chains that I am on and I don't want to be on, but I see it and I go, God, delete. I don't even know what Brian does. I'm sure Brian does a great job because we have guests all the time. That's all I need to know. Whatever. Yeah. Brian is doing a great job.
I make cat noises too. Yeah.
Yeah. Email Brian and he'll get you on the show, and then you can be on the internet with us talking about your homebrew. You got to send in homebrew. Today on the show, we are back with mead. Ashley is rejoining the show, and we're going to drink her other mead, and then we have a commercial example of a mead we're going to be drinking, and that'll be good, man. I like mead. I'm excited to get back into the mead area. I don't know, the sphere of influence, I suppose.
Been doing a lot of it lately.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, it's I enjoy it. I think it's nice. I think it's a nice change of pace. You know what I mean? Because it's definitely something that not a lot of people used to do. I think more people are doing it now because it is. Ashley, no, I don't want to like make you mad. It's easy. Quote unquote.
Whatever.
It has fewer ingredients, let's just say, to be diplomatic.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in a big fat air quotes. It's easier because you don't have to. You strike water and your mash and your timing. You check your you don't have to like do like a lot of the beer brewing things. But it is, I also think, more sciencey. It is more like winemaking on that scale, where you really have to make sure that your foundation is set and all that kind of stuff. But anyway. A lot of mead making going on. I appreciate that. But what else needs to be happening more than ever is cleaning and sanitizing. And the best people to do that are 5-Star Chemicals. You go to 5starchemicals.com, learn everything you need to know about how to clean and sanitize your brewing equipment. Yes, you do have to sanitize your mead making equipment. I should say your mead fermentation chambers. Just because it's mead doesn't mean that you don't have to be just as clean, if not cleaner, because I feel like there's way more sugars in mead, then the bacteria can really start to get a whole lot faster. So you want to be extra clean when you're dealing with all this kind of stuff.
What, JP? You can't just put your honey into like any old vessel with some water and add yeast? Say it isn't so.
Sure you can. Just like you can make cider by getting unfiltered apple juice from Trader Joe's and adding champagne yeast. Will it be good? No.
It worked for the Vikings. I mean,
it worked for the Vikings, but look at them now.
Right.
You know,
it's not like they really cared what it tasted like. They just cared that it had some alcohol, and then they went and killed some dudes with like a rusty knife.
Yeah, and and then rinse, repeat is really how that goes. You know what I mean? Speaking of rinsing and repeating, I brewed the other weekend.
No shit.
Yeah. I brewed the other weekend. I went back to a tried and true classic, my Belgian table beer, my Belgian pale ale.
Nice.
Yeah, it was neat, man. I drove out to More Beer and, got my 8 pounds of German Pilsner and then drove home. Like, that's all the grain bill is, right? For 5 gallons, I did it in my Brewzilla. And it was cool, man. It was neat to, like, sort of get back in the saddle of, like, I missed... And I think maybe I said this last time I brewed on the Brewzilla. I sort of missed the I don't want to call it pomp, but like the stuff you got to do, right? You got to there's the smell, the stirring of the dough balls, and make sure all that's, you know what I mean, like those kind of things. I sort of missed that sensation.
The whole process,
grain, like just when it comes in, you know, the smell of the grain when you add it to the water just smells like wet flour, sort of. It's still a little sweet and kind of husky smelling. It's very different when after everything sets and everything starts converting and everything like that. But that initial doughy smell, I missed that, and it was cool. But anyway, I had to like clean a bunch of kegs and clean my beer line, which I never do, and then I was like, get a keg, and I transported moved my fermenter up on the counter, which was a mistake because it was really fucking heavy. Then I realized I had no CO2, So I go borrow my friend Brad's CO2 tank. So I drove an hour round trip for like a new CO2 tank. And my fucking beer won't carbonate. And I don't know that I don't have a leak in the keg. I didn't check the line. But there's like, I'll pour the beer comes out, and this is day 4. And the beer will dispense because there's pressure in the keg, but it's not accepting any bubbles. There's no bubble action at all.
What do you have it set at?
Like 12
psi.
14.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's been a long time since I've carbonated beer or anything for that matter, but I don't remember it taking this long for any sort of action.
Well, just yank it out of the fridge, set it up to 30, shake it for 30 seconds a couple times, and you'll be fine.
I mean, you think that's what I should do, is take it out? And I mean, because I took it out and I shook it. I mean, I've been shaking it every now and then, but 4 days, is there something wrong? Do I have a leak? And if I had a leak, would it matter? Because it's the beer, the keg is still pressurized.
Yeah.
And so it's not like as big of a leak where it's leaking out the exact amount that is leaking in. You know what I mean? It's not like an open valve.
Right. I would just watch your CO2 level and make sure it's not going down.
Yeah.
I think
I'm so bad at carbonation and dispensing, and I haven't done it for years, but that was always, man, it's just so difficult. And kegging is so much better than bottling, but sometimes just getting that kegging stuff to work. I mean, have you tried like doing that rocking the baby with the keg thing?
I mean, I've done it before, but I'm also just the kind of guy of like, I'll set it at the pressure I'm going to dispense at and just leave it alone.
Yeah.
For a week. I don't care how long it takes. I'll just leave it alone. Like, I don't need to rock shake. I don't need to do anything. But I don't know, 3 days, you should see something. That is still.
Yeah, you should see something.
As night, man. It's just, anyway. Tastes good though. Actually, it tastes a little spicy. I think it took like 2 days to ferment. It was bad. I abused the shit out of that ferment, but whatever.
Did you just put it in your garage or something in this last few hot days of the year?
No, I had it in a conical. Actually, the last few days it's been in the keg, but I had it in a conical in the house, but I didn't do any oxygen. And I only did 1 pack of yeast. And I think it took 48 hours, I think, to see any action. Maybe 32. So I think something was going on. But anyway, that's my.
Sometimes it takes 48 hours, to see some action, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a 10:41 beer. That's the other thing. It started at 10:41 and it finished at like 10:09. I don't know, man.
That didn't attenuate as much as you'd expect a Belgian to attenuate, even like a single. You'd expect that to be maybe like a 10:05.
That's what I wanted. I mean, I would have taken a 10:06 or 7. You know what I mean? I just want a little bit, but
does it taste less attenuated than you wanted?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. It definitely tastes a little sweeter than I want.
Add water.
There you go.
Add some more yeast. See what happens. Ferment in the keg.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about me. I just wanted to share my brewing story. I'm trying to get back in the habit. I'm trying to be like Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act 2.
We're just trying to help you out. It's we're not just going to throw you into the wolves and say, "Doctor, heal thyself." Dr. Homebrew. We're your other members of your practice here are going to help you out, man.
That's true. Yeah.
JP getting his groove back.
What I think I might do is actually just in the break, just go turn the CO2 off because I think I might have a leak somewhere else. But I don't know. That's what I mean. It baffles me that the keg will still dispense beer, but it won't accept carbonation. And like I spray the top down with Star Sand, there's no foaming. So I don't know if, like the line, you know what I mean? Like I would feel the hiss.
You can dispense beer at 2 psi. I mean, it'll push.
Well, yeah, but it's. I mean, you're right. But if it's set at 12 or 14 psi, you're going to hear that leaking somewhere. Yeah. I mean, I would guess. Anyway, whatever. To our guest, Ashley, welcome back to the Dr. Homebrew, where I just complain about my beer setup all day.
That's okay. We all have our little issues with our brewing.
That's true. That's true. We have another mead from you.
Yes.
All right. I like it. Which one is this one?
So this is a very much a dessert mead. You could pour it over ice cream. It's pomegranate.
Okay, a pomegranate mead.
Yes.
What was the base honey?
Used wildflower. There's little to no water in it, so it's literally pomegranate juice and honey.
Oh, really?
Even easier. 2 ingredients.
Yeah, well, I was wondering, it came with a spout, and I didn't know if I was supposed to. No, I'm kidding. Wow, that sounds weird. I mean, is that like a normal thing to do, or did you just figure, hey, this could work? Because if I have to use honey, you might as well just use juice.
Yeah,
Or not
people
honey,
do it.
Water.
But
Really?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a common way to make a cider, apple juice and honey.
Yep.
I don't know why that's like blowing my mind right now. That you would just replace the water with juice.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Okay, that's cool. I like it, and the strength is standard.
Yes.
And it's still okay. Sweetness is sweet.
Absolutely sweet.
I like it. Okay. All right. Have you done this before?
No, this is my first time doing this one. And I have my own thoughts on it after tasting it recently.
Okay. Are they good thoughts? Well, we'll get to those.
Well, we'll get to that. I don't want to sway you either way. It's just
And I'm easily swayed. Don't, you can tell me this is wet concrete. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you make some good concrete. I appreciate that very much.
stick some poles in there, it'll stand straight up.
Yeah, right. Smells cool. Brian Shar, why don't you go first, man?
Well, thank you. Ashley, thank you for being on the show again and for sending us this awesome mead. And this is to be clear, this is a category M2E, a melomel. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm an expert, I'm just reading from the mead style guidelines here. So the melomel is a mead, but also has a fruit addition. As you were saying earlier, it's a pomegranate addition. It's a still mead with sweetness and standard strength. Bottle inspection was fine. I really enjoyed this melomel a lot. Bouquet aroma to start off with. I thought it was really a great balance of pomegranate and honey aroma. I'm not even a giant fan of pomegranate. And I think starting off here in the aroma, it's really interesting how much, and really, I think quite an achievement, how much in balance this whole melomel is between the pomegranate and the honey. The honey aroma is medium, pomegranate aroma is medium. It's got almost a rosé wine, kind of a vinous quality, which is a plus for this. I don't know that I can quite identify like a grape varietal that it's like, but yeah, I get when I was thinking about like what kind of wine it might be most like. Rosé was what popped into my head, like a really nice rosé. There's no off aromas, didn't get any alcohol, any harsh alcohol. There's maybe a little bit of ethanol, but there's just so much going on here. There's no requirement that the ethanol come through in the aroma. Give it 8 out of 10 for the bouquet / aroma. Appearance, color is dark reddish orange. Here we got my San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge background on here, so you really can't see.
Nope.
I could turn off that for the 5 people that are watching this on YouTube. They can kind of imagine what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
So it's a dark reddish orange, crystal clear. Persistent legs. It's still, but there are a few bubbles on the edge, which is perfectly fine for a still beverage. Give it 6 out of 6 for appearance. The flavor, initially the flavor is kind of a medium honey and medium pomegranate. It's a sweet mead, but the sweetness is low. And looking at the style guidelines, the introduction to mead guidelines, sweet mead doesn't mean that it has to be some cloying, thick sugar water thing, right? It's not like you're to be drinking simple syrup or something like that. It just means the sweetness has to be there at some level, even at a low level. It's very well attenuated, but that residual sweetness or that sweetness in the back, I think is just enough to give it some body and some character without being so bone dry that it just kind of goes away in your mouth. Medium tannins, medium low alcohol, sort of a smooth ethanol alcohol, not a harsh fusel. The aftertaste is very long and complex. No carbonation, which you wouldn't expect. It's a still beverage. The balances really well between the pomegranate and the honey. Gave it 20 out of 24 for flavor. Overall impression, 9 out of 10 for a total score of 43. This is really harmonious and well balanced, not just between the fruit and the honey, but between the fruit and the honey, the tannins, the sweetness, the alcohol, sort of every component of this. And I'm not a certified mead judge or even any level of mead judge. I haven't taken the mead exam. What I know about this is from what meads I've had largely through Dr. Homebrew and from reading the guidelines. But one of the key things about the guidelines is that a really good quality mead is balanced across every dimension. And this is really balanced, I think, really well across every dimension. I really like this a lot. It makes me want to drink more mead. It makes me kind of interested in learning more about the different honeys and about everything else. And I think this is really fantastic, and I really appreciate you sharing this, Ashley. And I was so excited about going first and about drinking more of this. I forgot to ask you my standard question I have to ask everyone. And I asked you last time, but in case someone wasn't listening to the previous episode, are you in a homebrew or home mead making club?
Absolutely. I'm in Doe's. We are out of Walnut Creek, and it's a great active group. We constantly do beer fests every year. We have some mead makers in there and a lot of beer makers and a few cider.
Awesome. And I am coming to a Club Doe's meeting at some point this summer. That's going to happen.
Fantastic.
Be sure to let Ashley know so she can be busy.
Yeah. Right. I'll make sure to give Paul and everybody some advance notice so you guys can just like bail out. And I have to mow my thing.
Yeah, I gotta thaw some ice.
gotta watch that to be sure it happens. Okay.
Yeah, and watch the paint dry on the wall you painted the other day.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I have to make my own paint. All right, Shark, good job. You scored it, right? You gave a score.
Oh yeah, overall score was a 43. I thought it was really, really well made. And I'm going to finish my sample. I'm going to finish this bottle. None of this is getting poured down the drain. That's for sure.
That's a good thing.
For sure. Thanks, Ashley.
No problem. I do want to apologize about the camera. It was working before I came into the room, and now it won't work. And I tried my settings and everything, so you don't get to see me tonight.
Well, no apologies. And it's a podcast, so pretty much this is a visual medium when we're talking about taste, or an audio medium when we're talking about taste. So there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Cooper, let's go.
All right. So open the bottle. I opened this 3 nights ago and judged it then. There was no hiss upon opening. It's a still mead, so that's appropriate. In the nose, it opens with a sweet honey character and fresh pomegranate kind of tang in tandem. Like they're both nicely balanced between each other. Honey is floral and seems a little spicy, intense, kind of good, quite a good complexity to it. Seeing or smelling brightly estery components in there, just a lot of fruitiness from that pomegranate, but it's really inviting with that, it's a fresh fruity character that's really nice. So 8 out of 10 for bouquet aroma. Appearance wise, it's really pretty, a nice rich, I said rosé ambery color, kind of. It's got a little, like kind of this orangey ambery color behind that kind of rosé color, but it does look like a rosé wine in some ways, with a little bit of a honey-like color to it. Quite clear, only very minor haze. Some lags, but they're not streaking down, just kind of ripples above where the liquid was. No signs of carbonation, just no bubbles at all, even in the corners of the glass there. So it's not doing anything else in the bottle. It doesn't seem like. Sometimes meads will creep up to petulant and get a little spritzy on you in the bottle, but this one doesn't seem to be doing that. And that's great. 5 out of 6 for appearance. Flavor wise, where that pomegranate flavor comes out nice and fruity up front, just fresh, along with a clean floral honey. It's a fairly acidic fruit, but it doesn't really express too acidic. That's an intense balance, fruit to kind of have to balance with honey flavor. So I'm impressed with that balance. And, if you over acidified this, it would just go south real fast, I think. Low tannins, no carbonation. The alcohol is pretty firmly noticeable. Now that I got just a little bit of heat out of it, not maybe a touch, almost just a faint solventy note, but not offensive at all. As you keep going, it just feels bigger and bigger, and you breathe out and you feel that. That's kind of getting into mouthfeel too, but then the fruit just lingers into the aftertaste, so it kind of balances that out a little bit, and it's well done. But it is warming in the chest, and it seems big. I don't know what the ABV is on this one. I get 18 out of 24 for flavor. Overall impression, the bottle, it's labeled as Pomegranate by Ashley, and like, if the world had to end, it might as well be from an explosion of awesome honey and pomegranate like this. Fine point, kind of to tame that little spicy hot alcohol thing in the kind of bite and the flavor and mouthfeel. You could take really good care of the fermentation, of course. You should maybe also back off the acidity just a touch. I feel like at first it didn't bite super acidic, but as it goes on, you notice the acidity kind of playing off that alcohol, and it's really kind of, and these are very fine points, but just like that balancing act is like the alcohol is kind of winning a little bit. And if you reduce the acidity a little bit, it might play better to reduce that little sharpness that was in there. But again, it wasn't like a really sharp, harsh fruit flavor. The level of the fruit was fine, I thought. The tannins are fine, being kind of low, or I wouldn't push those up just to try to balance it some other way. But the tannins are fairly low now. But pomegranate, again, is a pretty acidic fruit. I'm sure it's tricky to play with. I gave overall impression 8 out of 10. I landed at a 39 on this one. I think it's a very fine mellow. And now you state wildflower honey, that does come through. It really does have a nice floral honey character in the flavor and in the aroma. Yeah, just the only thing I checked on the left side was just a light alcoholic, little effective alcohol warming, not super hot, but noticeable. But really liked it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And it's really fun to taste your meads. I went to my buddy John Kerber's house last night, and he had a couple of your meads there too.
Oh yeah, I left some on a brew day.
So I got to taste those as well. I think at least one of them I didn't have before. So
I think he had the fig and black pepper.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Good.
But thank you. Any questions for us, or do you want to talk about what you did with the mead?
Hold on, Cooper. Hold on.
What are
you changing up the format of the show suddenly?
Should we let JP talk about the mead?
Did you score it?
Oh yeah, 39.
Wow, we haven't done the show in a while. You can tell both Brian's like, I don't know. Should I give a score? I forget.
No, I did give a score.
39. Okay.
Were you sleeping?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. I like this mead a lot. Also, I'm struggling to figure out what to say that the guys didn't really say already. I want the pomegranate. I like the tartness of the pomegranate, the tang, combined with the sweetness of the honey. It's definitely a nice balance. I think Shar was saying that early on, but I almost want more pomegranate flavor, and I don't know how you get that. I want a little more fruit flavor than tartness.
Well, maybe I'll take out the 2 cups of water that I've added and replace it with mead.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe like an extract. I don't know. I would be interested to play around with some of that. But it's very, very good. And on the last show, we were giving you our would we buy this or not? Yeah, I would definitely buy this. I would buy this and bring it to someone's house.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
this is better than than most commercial meads I've ever had.
I'll take that.
How was your fermentation with this? How do you deal? What is the ABV on this, first of all, and then follow up? How do you deal with the fermentation with that?
Yeah, it's a 13.8%. This one basically ran itself into the ground, so there was no back sweetening, and I did not clarify. It just sat for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
The final gravity was pretty high, and I was worried about it. It was 1046, I think is what it was, which I was like, oh, I don't know. But the balance for me was the tartness of the pomegranate, and it really balanced out that sweetness to me.
Wait, it finished at 1046?
Yeah.
Good gravy.
I know.
Where did it start?
It started at it's 11. It was about 1150-ish, I think is what it was. It was
When
high.
you mix fruit juice with a lot of honey, you
Yeah,
can get
I
up to
did.
those high heights.
Yep.
And then with the acidity the way it is, it'll
Mhm.
it'll tend to inhibit the yeast as it goes along. The yeast is gonna
Yeah.
peter out after a while. But you did a good job not stressing the yeast somehow. Just let it settle out and be done. And
I
I was pretty
imagine.
particular on my yeast. I went for 71B because it can deal a little bit better with the acidic kind of environments.
Makes sense.
Narbonne, yeah.
So
Who's
The
the
Lalvin.
Lalvin? Okay.
yes,
Going to
Lalvin.
be 1122. Yeah.
I wonder if I don't know, tasting it again, I wonder if less pomegranate juice is the key for me. Like
Okay.
less is more kind of a thing, because I wonder if it's too much, so the acidity is too high, but then the acidity sort of stomps on the juice because there's a balance with the honey. I don't know.
It kind of vaguely reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever had Lost Cause mead from Southern California. They tend to be like heavier meads, and then they finish, like some of them are heavier meads and they finish with like a bite or a something that offsets that heavy sweetness. And so I kind of felt it was reminiscent of something that they would do.
Your finishing gravity is higher than many beers start at. That's just,
I know.
yeah,
It's higher than the starting gravity of my beer that I brewed 2 weeks ago.
right. You're making a dry Irish stout. You're starting, lower than this.
Mhm.
Yeah, just picking nits. I mean, like drinking it now, I wonder if it's too tart. I wonder if backing off on some of that pomegranate juice would be beneficial. But I don't know. It's you've probably brewed this multiple times. I don't know what I'm talking about.
This was my second rendition of it.
Okay. What did you change between the first and the second? I want to know how you dial in a mead like this. Like, how do you make changes to balance this out?
So I actually did lower the amount of pomegranate and increase the water a little bit because it was just too sweet, and it became cloyingly like sweet. And then
I could see that, yeah.
The way the flavor changed on the first one, I think the yeast were a little too stressed when I did that one, so I was a little more attentive to my mead. We touch ours over time instead of on the first day and let it go. So I gave it a lot more attention, more degassing, did a better nutrient schedule. Good old Tasna. I didn't necessarily do that. I just kind of broke it up. I was like, I'm just going to do half now and half later and just let it go and see what happens. So
less is more sometimes.
Exactly.
I mean, it depends on what you're going for, and that's really like ultimately what you should do. If you're going for a mead like this, I think you've hit it. It's great. I think it's a very good tasting mead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I would change on it myself is I was thinking the sweetness level was a little high. So I wanted to bring this, if I do it when I do it in the future, I'd like to bring down the sweetness a little bit.
Where do you get your pomegranate? What kind of fruit? I mean, it's just the juice only. There's no pomegranate fruit added.
Correct. I got the pomegranate juice from Costco, the Kirkland brand.
Wow.
The first one was palm, and I couldn't get a hold of palm at the price that was good at the time. So I was like, okay, I'll go for the Kirkland brand. And I was a little nervous about it first. In fact, when it was done, like the flavor was completely different than when I used palm. And it sat for a long time before I touched it again. And I thought it was going to be a throwaway batch. And right when I was getting ready to transfer it into like jugs, basically, to decide, do I want to mix this in or not? And I tasted it and I was like, oh my God, what happened to it? it's drinkable. Like
Coming around.
it came around.
Oh,
It just took
that's
time. A lot of time.
Kirkland or not, and with the quality of the honey I'm sure you're using and the amount of honey, this is an expensive batch of beverage.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Pomegranate juice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard to go wrong with Kirkland. I live the Kirkland lifestyle myself, and it's their products generally tend to be pretty good quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the honey is it's their brand. It's their brand of honey too. Ode to Costco. Here we go.
You just call this Costco mead,
Right?
or just offer this up to Costco, see if they want to sell this at some of their stores.
Right?
Yeah, no, actually, you should just smuggle a couple of bottles into your local Costco and then like find one of those abandoned sample tables,
Right? Just bring out the little
set up
cups
in
that they have
there,
and
like put on the hairnet, go up there, gloves, see if you can find a smock and just like, mead sample,
Right?
mead sample,
That would be so awesome.
fresh pomegranate mead.
Right?
You can't buy it here, but you can make
But
it.
you can make it. I love it.
Do we have any questions for Ashley or vice versa?
This is a no heat mead, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to boil your pomegranate juice. Yeah,
No.
just so people. I make assumptions, but people listening to this, may need to learn. Learn how to make mead. There's a lot of good information out there, and it's a fun hobby too. And it sounds easy, but it's actually not easy to make a mead that's this balanced. So what was your, you said you kind of had your impression of it. Did you get the alcohol heat a little bit too, or
I did
no?
get a little bit of the alcohol heat, and I'm thinking maybe it just, since it sat over time and got better, maybe if I let it sit a little longer, maybe it'll calm down a little more.
Yeah, it doesn't seem oxidized at all, so there's no
Mhm.
there's no weirdness creeping in. It seems really good. How old is it?
It is less than a year.
Okay,
It is 7 months, 5,
good.
7, 8 months. So it's not super old, but in mead terms.
Yeah.
And is the pomegranate sliding down a little bit over time, or is it staying fairly consistent?
It's staying fairly consistent. In fact, it's becoming more like almost like a real pomegranate to me. Like,
Yeah,
it's becoming like pomegranate instead of like it was before, where it just was a weird flavor. I don't know how to describe it. It was just weird.
yeah.
What do you think it was from?
I don't know. It wasn't like an off flavor like from the yeast being stressed. It was just the ferment. I don't know if it was the fermented product. I don't know. I have no idea where that came from.
Pomegranate juice can be a little weird. I've made my own grenadine a couple times, and it can be weird. I think it's a weird product.
Yeah.
I'll say too, pomegranate's not my favorite, but this makes me want to have it more. It's like it's a nice fresh flavor for what it is. Like if every pomegranate beverage you got had that kind of pomegranate flavor to it, I'd probably be a bigger fan.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Yeah. Pomegranate juice rules. I like cutting it with water because I feel like it can be too powerful. It can be too tart.
Right. It's like cranberry juice. Most of the cranberry juice cocktails you get are only like 13% cranberry. If you get the 100% stuff, woo, baby.
Oh dear.
All right, Ashley, if that's it, we'll let you go.
Well, she's gonna hang
I'm gonna
out
taste
actually.
I'm gonna hang out and taste some other mead with you guys.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's a good segue. Hang on, everybody. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We're going to taste a commercial mead along with Ashley and get her input on it and talk a little bit about commercial meads in general and how this sort of stacks up with the style guidelines. So hang on, everybody. It's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back. All right. Thanks for hanging on, everybody. We are back here where Ashley's still on the line, and we have 2 commercial meads to drink. Are we doing 2? I forget. I know
we're doing. Yeah, we got 2.
Okay, we were all able to get the same thing. Cool, nice. So these are from Redstone Meadery. If you guys have been around home brewing circles in general, Redstone have been around forever. I want to say that they were the first commercial meadery that I ever heard of. They're from Colorado, and their product has always been good. I think they were on the Session years back too, if I remember correctly.
I got a Redstone mead when I won a medal at NHC for one of my meads. So
Yeah, they're
I had a
they're big
plum melomel, I
supporters.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, they're big
Right.
supporters of the big ties with the AHA, supporters of homebrewing. So I thought let's trash. No, I'm kidding. So it's pretty cool. They have a mead in a can. They have a black raspberry nectar in a can, and I feel like, Ashley, is that weird? Is that I don't know, not respecting the beverage or something like that? Should everything be corked and caged and bottled properly or whatever? Or is a can fine for mead?
I was a little taken back by the canned mead. I don't think it's wrong per se. I think it's weird. I've had a few canned meads now. But I treat it more like it's a wine type drink instead of a can type drink, which I think of like soda and beer. And so I think it's just personal preference, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it officially.
Okay, because like you can't store it. Like
Correct.
if you're opening a can of mead, you're sort of done. It's also carbonated. But here, let me look at the style. It's
Are we having the can first, JP?
I don't know. I'm just pouring both of them. Why not?
I poured the bottle first. I only brought one glass down.
I poured the bottle too.
It's a mellow mel.
I'll start with that. But I think they did it too. So it's a package that you can take camping with you. You can take, hiking, whatever.
To a beach.
To the beach. Yeah.
Nothing like going hiking and then cooling down by drinking a 14% mead.
Absolutely.
Well, this is only like an 8%. The
the
nectars are more of a hydromel.
Hydromel. Okay. See, I don't know anything about these terms.
Technically, I think it's a standard if you wanted to enter it in BJCP.
Probably, just barely standard, but
yeah.
Use your judgment when entering a mead.
Yeah.
And the 7% mead is considered lawnmower mead in my book, 8%, you're kind of borderline. Okay, that could pass for a standard, but some standards are 11 or so. It's,
well, let's do the can first. I mean, it's low in alcohol. Shouldn't that be what we do first?
Okay. Ashley needs to go get a glass then.
Yeah.
Ashley, just drink out of the can of shotgun.
All right. I won't shotgun it, but I'll drink it out of the can. I don't care.
This would be maybe the first podcast in history that anybody ever shotgunned a mead out of a can, if you were to do that. So just think about that for a second. You could be making podcast history.
We need to get the video working for that.
I want you to take 5 seconds, Ashley.
Good point.
And think about that. Think about what you could be doing for us.
Right. Well, what I'm going to do for you guys right now is instead of running upstairs, I only poured a little bit of the traditional in the glass, so I can drink that really quick.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a can variation. I don't know. This mead smells like it's pepper. Like it has like it's spiced, like it has jalapeno in it or something like that.
There's a little sharpness
odd
there.
smell.
Yeah.
It's an odd smell that is not like a fruit smell to me. And my first thought was almost ozone when I cracked the can. Like, what is happening? Yeah. And I haven't even sipped it yet, but it was an odd, not natural smell.
Sometimes when you take the weed eater and you got like a big thick weed in the yard and you're like, and you're grinding down with that weed eater, and that juicy kind of like weed smell, not like pot, but like, plant. That's what I smell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is sort of like an earthy. It's like yeah, like jalapenos, but not spicy.
No, put your nose down in it and sniff really deep and see if you get cinnamon. I'm getting a cinnamon, but
I can talk myself into cinnamon almost.
Yeah,
almost a metallic-ish.
The other thing is this. I bought this yesterday. I drove all the way to San Ramon to get this can. And then this morning I found that it was empty and there was a partial glass of it sitting next to, and it wasn't me. I didn't stay up late, but somebody else in the household stayed up late. I didn't put a big enough sign on it to alert them to the fact that this was in fact Dr. Homebrew stuff that I needed to save. But that's
we have a strict, not the last can policy in this house.
I'll have to have a word
bottle of something. Do not.
Yeah.
If I breathe deep through my nose and I really get a hork off of that side glass, it almost smells like cheap Chinese food, like pineapple, like a pineapple sauce.
It smells like if you're going that route, like the sweet and sour,
Yes.
like
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from it.
Yes. Right.
sour.
Sweet with
Yeah.
a pineapple chunk in it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, JP, that is spot on. You didn't talk me into that. That's a really good descriptor of what that
Well,
that aroma is like.
Ashley and I both nailed that one. It's a
Yeah.
black raspberry nectar, and look, I'm not trying to shit on anything because it this is what it smells like: carbonated honey wine with black raspberry puree.
The fruit
It
character
smells.
is pretty muted, and it's I
Mhm.
have to say it's kind of watery. It seems watery. You don't notice any real alcohol. So for 8%, it's smooth, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a pepperiness in the flavor too. It's almost like they use like the raspberry plant.
right.
Yeah.
Instead of the berry.
Yeah, it's like,
Like
It's like it takes 3 or 4 sips to get the fruit. Like the 4th sip, I'm getting like that black raspberry or some kind of berry character out of the flavor, but it shouldn't take that long. And I wonder if it is like I forget who was talking about maybe it got watered down, and I wonder if it's maybe because you probably don't want to put a 14% mead in a can. And I know Jamil has talked on the session about like higher alcohol in a can can be problematic. He was talking about his canned cocktails.
Mhm.
And just in terms of making this into a canned beverage as opposed to a bottled beverage, I wonder if the addition of even pure, clean, uncontaminated water to this is going to affect how you perceive the aroma and the flavor, especially going down for something like what's going to be a 14-15% beverage down to like 8%. You're like watering it down almost 50%.
Right.
Yeah. There was a metallic. I don't know.
My first impression, my snap judgment when I popped that can was something ozone/metallic. It's not ozone, but it's kind of on that edge of being kind of sharp and metal-ish.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely blood penny
Yeah.
aromatic.
And it's not, it seems like in the nose, you would think maybe it's like a seed like character or something
Mhm.
from the black raspberry seeds, but you get into the flavor and it doesn't have very high tannins at all.
No.
It's the structure is kind of,
Very
the
light.
tannins are low. It's not very acidic. It's not very honey forward. Everything's generally light. It's kind of watery. I don't know. I think maybe a little acidity would probably help this a bit, just to give it something poking out there and play off the fruit, or maybe a little more sweetness, but I don't know.
Mine
It's
doesn't have a born on or best by date. Does any of yours?
I mean,
Nope.
it tastes like the beverage is good, but there's a contaminant, there's a thing, and I think Char might be on it where it's like when they're cutting it down.
That could be it. It
Mine
makes
just
me
says
think
mead,
of
Or
mead
like
beer.
something in the way that they're sanitizing their cans.
Maybe.
Something is going on, but like there is like a sort of sweetness there. There is like a nice light berry flavor, honey flavor, sort of buried in in the middle there.
yeah.
hard-
To me,
it's
it's,
hard to
like
judge.
I don't mean this in the worst way possible, but like a LaCroix of mead.
Right. It's got without being overly sweet like some of them are. It's got kind
Mhm.
of a wine cooler like quality to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a cool way to make mead more approachable for people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's neat. I think it's a good idea, and talking about it and understanding a little bit more of the style. I think it's cool that it's in a can.
Hmm.
It's neat. I just there's a thing.
The more sips I take, the more fruitiness I can get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So it builds on itself.
Yeah.
My initial take on it was a little off-putting from the scent from the can, but now that it's kind of airing a little bit, it's not quite as bad.
Yes. Absolutely. It
Um,
tastes more like more rosé like.
Yes.
And it should be mentioned that it is a classic commercial example of a mellow mel. So
It is.
you can find it in bottles as well, but yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be fascinating. Do a bottle and a can side by side.
Yeah. I wonder if
it really would.
what the difference is. And it's made with a black raspberry puree. Yeah.
I
think it's
also
the
wonder,
M2C.
like aluminum cans always have some kind of liner, right? So
Right.
you're not just putting a beverage into aluminum. Typically, it's a BPA liner, but that's been in recent years, people have moved away from BPA for a variety of reasons. I wonder, especially given the supply chain issues that have happened, this is one, and actually looking at this, I swear, there was the bottle that said it was made in 2021. The can didn't say anything about that. It's possible that, the cans they were able to get during the pandemic, especially with all the supply chain problems, maybe had, maybe a liner that was incomplete or some liner issues. Maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of grasping at straws here for why we might be tasting what we're tasting. That maybe there's some defect in the liner that's causing it to contact the aluminum for a long stretch of time, thereby getting more of a metallic flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's challenging. It's a challenging thing to judge. If we were judging this, what would we do? Would we continue to write, or would we just be like, I think you have some flaws? Would you pass on it?
You have to judge what's in front of you. So I would just continue and give it a score.
Okay. Yeah. Like even exhaling, that's like the dominant flavor I'm getting is whatever that is, and I can't. I want it to leave my mouth.
There's not any real sharp, like offensive flavors in this mead. It's not. It's real subtleties, and it's the balance of it, and it's such a light mead that it just, to me, it's a little. I'd like it to be a little more characterful and have a little more fruit. The dryness of it, I think, is fine. If you're gonna have a carbonated mead, having it a little drier is fine. Mm-hmm. If it was too sweet and carbonated, that might be a little too much. So that's fine. I think the carbonation is pretty light, especially since this was, my sample was sitting out overnight, and then I put it in my fridge this morning. But I don't have a lot really bad specifically to say about it. It's like you said, it's an approachable product that some people might really enjoy and find interesting and delve into meads a little more, and that can be a good thing.
Yep. But, I think it's a cool idea. I think the execution might be a little off.
It's made with clover honey, wildflower honey, Narbonne yeast, black raspberry puree, and the love.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm going to throw this out here as a thought also. I'm not sure I'm not familiar with this product until like yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure who this is marketed toward, but if this is marketed toward like drinkers of hard seltzer, maybe this is something where it's got the fruit, it's got the carbonation, it's got a little honey. Maybe it's marketed more toward getting people that would drink a Truly or a White Claw or something to pick up one of these.
Well, I didn't see it in 12 packs at the front of the Total Wine, and it's also like $7.49 a can. So
that's a good point.
Maybe not.
An expensive 6-pack.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, I withdraw my comment.
Well, let's move on to the bottled version, the traditional mountain honey wine. Now, what style would this be, Coop?
Well, this is a traditional semi-sweet mead.
Yes. M1B.
M1B.
M1B. All right. Oh.
You can't breathe it.
Drink with my esophagus, not my trachea. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, I think smelling this brings me back, man. Like NHC, like when I first, because for me, there's sort of like a eucalyptus menthol aromatic, and I sort of remember that about this mead.
Yeah.
I haven't had it in like 10 years, but it's like. And I don't mean menthol in like in a bad way. It's like I'm gonna say unrefined, and that's not what I don't mean like raw, right? But like just intentionally rough around the edges. I mean, mountain honey wine, I think, sort of brings that to the table, already. It's like it's not polished, it's not whatever. It's sort of pokey outy a little bit on purpose, and I like that. I think it's very rustic. Maybe that's the term I'm looking for. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think we got spoiled by Ashley's mead, which was just so big and complex and flavorful. I think this is also this is a good mead. I'm not getting any off I think all the debate we were having about the can and metallic and what have you is not present in this one at all. This is just a nice, smooth, simple mead. But I think because we had just that big, awesome pomegranate mead from Ashley, that's hard to kind of go back to this one. It's like judging a double IPA and trying to go back and judge a light lager.
True.
Right.
True.
I get the kind of eucalyptus note that you get. I think too, though, there's a lot of it's got both orange blossom and wildflower honey in it, as claimed on the label, and with Colorado water, of course. But wildflowers that grow up in the mountains up there and are in the higher elevations, there might be some interesting things growing up there. And wildflower honey, it's a very broad thing. It's one batch to another might not taste the same, and there might be something, you could get something a little more pungent and stronger in there, and herbal that pushes up kind of that little eucalyptus like edge that you're getting. I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
Very light, very light on the nose with the eucalyptus. I don't exactly get the orange blossom, but it is floral. But I think it just gives us like a little tweak to the wildflower approach, I guess, with the honey.
Well, I think two things. One, Redstone have been around for years, right? 20 years, maybe. Been around a long time. Yeah. So I think they're used to sort of this like rustic version of meads. And I think meads, I don't want to say have evolved, because it sounds like they're doing something wrong. But, some of the more mainstream meads are sort of a softer blend of flavor. But also, I think that Redstone meads, it seems like, and I don't know why I keep like specifically naming them. I probably shouldn't be doing that. But like, it feels like their meads need to open up more. Mm-hmm. Because drinking this mountain honey wine, 5 minutes it's been open, it is sort of opening up and changing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas, sometimes meads, you don't have to necessarily do that. So I think with meads, maybe it's important to keep in mind, it's like a wine, mm-hmm. for better or for worse. And that needs to open up a little bit and doesn't need to change. Whereas beer, sometimes you pour the glass and you go, okay, this is what I taste. But
yeah, it does have a nice medium light body, so it's not super heavy.
Right.
And the bottle says it uses the Montrachet yeast in there.
Yeah, it is really light. It is easy drinking, and honestly, it's opening up, and I don't get that eucalyptus anymore. It's gone. It's like maybe slightly herbaceous now.
Yeah, it was kind of fleeting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wonder what that's about. They definitely seem to have some flavors.
It's very smooth for, it's a 12% honey wine, which I kind of like that level. It's a nice middle, it's a, nice, good strength. You get plenty of the honey, but you're not getting any alcohol harshness here. It's very smooth. Mm-hmm. They don't add any sulfites in there. It's kind of traditionally made, it seems like, too. Very natural ingredients. And
I like that they put the production date on.
Yeah.
February 1st, 2021.
Mine's 2020, November 2020.
Yeah, mine's a 21. So I got JP's in mine at the Total Wine in Pleasant Hill. I think you got yours in Pleasanton or San Ramon.
Yeah. San Ramon.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I don't know why. I mean, it's a year difference.
Yeah.
Probably they already sold out the 2020 ones at the Total Wine in Pleasant Hill, or they didn't get any that early. And I don't know.
I think it's
for whatever reason.
Yeah, 3 months difference, really. November to February. Not a big deal.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's good. I like that it's light, and and I seem to remember their meads just sort of being lighter on flavor, but I don't know if it's because now we have more commercial examples of like heavier meads. But like I said, they were the first meadery that I'd ever heard of, like commercially, and I thought, wow, these people are nuts.
Oh, you're lucky you never heard of Chaucer mead then.
That's where I started, Chaucer.
Yeah. It came with a pack of mulling spices that you could use.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I forgot. I've blocked that out. They would sell that crap like in the 90s. And it's oh God, I don't know who made it or where it came from. It was just oxidized, awful, because it was so oxidized because nobody ever bought it. Right? Like a big liquor store that wanted to have a lot of selection of different stuff might have like 3 or 4 bottles of Chaucer's mead for people that wanted to have a mead, and if anyone drank that, it'd be a miracle they ever would drink a mead again or make one or do anything. Oh my God, that stuff was terrible.
Mead used to be more of a novelty.
Yes.
And now they're becoming more mainstream. There's a lot of meaderies out there.
That one was of the quality that you would want to put it in a crock pot and throw some spices in there, at a winter holiday party or something. It's just like, okay, let's have some fun. Here, taste this. Okay, who cares? My palate's blown. Let's drink some mead. Right.
Yeah. No one's going to be offended if you let the crock pot of mead sit.
It ain't.
No. Or weird stuff. Like I have a good friend who had a roommate in the late 80s who had like an Arrowhead bottle carboy of mead or something, and it's like, oh yeah, you got to let that sit for about 10 years to really ferment out. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know anything about fermentation, or this is before I even started home brewing. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good, but I wasn't going to tell that guy that. But that was like what you did back in, I guess, the late 80s, is you would get like some honey and pour it in a Arrowhead bottle, a drinking water bottle, one of those 5-gallon ones, and let it sit for, 10 years.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right. No nutrients. Just
let it go.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We learned a lot.
Chaucer's has broadened their horizons from the original one that I ran into when I was younger. And when I was so excited, I'm like, oh my gosh, mead, look at this. And I broke it open. I was like, this is going to be awesome. And I was like, this is what mead tastes like. I don't know if this is so awesome anymore.
I just wanted to be noted that I'm drinking Celebration Ale. This is my 7th bottle of Celebration left. I have 6 more in the fridge.
Ooh.
I just wanted to flex right now. That's all.
How oxidized is it now? Like 6, 7, 8 months after you got it?
It's not oxidized. It's great.
Awesome.
The hop flavors died down a little bit. That's why I like keeping this, because it sort of just turns into like a hoppy red ale instead of like a IPA.
Have you kept that in your fridge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that should be. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't get oxidized. And it should just have a little bit of a die down of the hop character. And yeah, you can flex on us all day with that Celebration Red, bro.
The malt sort of gets this like nice sweetness. It's good. I really like it. I like a nice aged Celebration. Anyway, let's get out of here, everybody. I think we're done. Ashley, thank you very much for sticking around and not only sending us mead, but staying for our commercial. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a judging.
Commercial comment.
Commercial nonsense.
Yeah. It was interesting. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Ashley.
Definitely not a
Thanks
commercial.
a lot.
Not a commercial for Chaucer's.
Yeah.
No, but definitely go and check out some Redstone, especially people in the Bay Area. Apparently you can find them all over the Bay Area. I think they're really interesting meads. They're not like some of these other super heavy meads or whatever. It's a whole different vibe. And like I said, as they sit, they definitely change a little bit, which I think is interesting, and I would love to know why. I'm going to go back to this can one real fast.
Yeah, this Redstone Honey Mountain wine in the bottle with the swing top, I think would be a great intro to mead for people who have never had a mead before, and maybe just want to have, because it's simple, it's light, it's not, the Moonlight meads are great, but they're bigger, more flavor. There's more to them. It's kind of like starting to drink a craft beer with an IPA, to drink one of those. This might be more like easing into craft beer with a pale ale or a golden ale or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It just gives you some idea what a mead might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't always jump straight to Imperial Stout when you're 19 years old. Just
right.
21 years old. Sorry. Just
if you were cool, you did.
Yeah. No, but I think it's enjoyable. I think it's tasty.
Think so too. I think Redstones are definitely good meads. They're just we need to know how to tackle them for a second.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And if you want to be on this show, send us beer. Email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com, and he will get back to you post haste, whatever that means. And you can be on the show and send us beers, and we'll converse with you. And you can plug your homebrew club when Shar asks you for it, and not before then.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you.